Here's something I hear from women all the time. I have so many ideas, I don't even know where to start. And here's the other version I hear just as often. I have no idea what I'd even sell. And the funny thing is, both of those women are stuck in exactly the same place. They just got there from opposite directions. And what they both need is more ideas or fewer ideas. It's a way to filter the ones that they've already got. Before we dive in, I have something for you. I just launched a brand new free guide called The Quiet List. And it's a quiet field guide to the 7 thoughts and fears every second chapter woman has running in the background of her day. And the simple reframes that change everything. If you've ever felt loud in your head but quiet on the outside, this one was made just for you. The link is in the description below. It's the very first one you'll see. So go grab it now and come back whenever you're ready. I'm Jenny, founder of The Bold Biz, and this channel is for women over 40 who are ready to build something of their own without the hustle, the burnout, or the pressure to be perfect. If that sounds like you, please subscribe. I post new videos every Thursday, and I would love to have you here every week. Okay, so last week we talked about the 7 fears that stop midlife women from starting a side business. And if you haven't watched that one yet, I'd really recommend going back to it because it sets up everything we're talking about today beautifully. But today we're moving from the fears into the framework, because naming what's in the way is only the first step, and the next step is actually doing something about it. And one of the biggest fears I hear from women once they've moved past the fear of starting is this: I just don't know which idea to go with. Maybe they've got a running list of 20 ideas that they've been adding to for years, or they can't pick one. Or maybe they've got one idea, but they're not sure if it's actually the right one for their life right now. Or maybe they keep starting things and then abandoning them because they choose an idea for the wrong reasons in the first place. And that last one was very much me for a long time, ladies. I built an entire Shopify store around yarn lover accessories. But here's the thing. I don't knit or crochet. I've never knitted or crocheted. My mom and my aunt are the ones who do this, which is what inspired the idea, and it felt exciting in the moment, but there was no real connection between me and that idea, and it showed. So today, I want to give you the framework I use to evaluate every single business idea now, before I put real time and energy into it. It's called the 4-filter framework. And once you've run your idea through these 4 filters, you'll know pretty quickly whether you've got something worth building or whether you need to keep looking for another idea. So the first filter is skills. And the question here is simply, do you already have a skill that could underpin this idea, or would you have to learn everything from scratch? Now, I want to be clear that this doesn't mean you need to be an expert, because as I talked about in the last week's video, you just need to be one step ahead of the person that you're helping. But there's a really big difference between building on something you already know and starting completely from zero. When you build on existing skills, you've got a head start, you've got credibility, you've got something real to say, and you'll find it so much easier to create content and talk to potential customers because you're drawing on experience you've actually lived. So think about what you're already good at. And I really do mean think broadly here, because women in midlife consistently undervalue what they know. If you've spent 20 years in HR, for example, you know more about people, communication, conflict resolution, and organizational culture than most people will ever learn. If you've raised kids, you know about time management, negotiation, patience, and showing up when you really don't want to or are way too tired. If you've managed a household budget through difficult times, you've got genuine financial skills. All of that is real, all of it is valuable, and all of it can be the foundation of a side business. So write down every skill you have, big and small, and then look at your ideas list and ask yourself, which one of these ideas could I build on something I already know? The second filter is time. And this is the one that most people skip over in the excitement of a new idea, and then wonder why things fall apart 3 weeks later when real life gets in the way. The question here is, does this idea fit the time I actually have available right now? Not the time I wish I had, not the time I'm planning to carve out someday, but the real honest time I have today. Because here's the thing, and I say this with a lot of love, most of us are not going to suddenly find 10 extra hours a week. We've got jobs and families and commitments and the kind of low-grade exhaustion that comes from being a midlife woman holding a lot of things at once. So the idea you choose needs to work inside your actual life, not a fantasy version of it. And this is genuinely good news because it immediately rules out ideas that require more bandwidth than you've got right now. And it points you towards the ones that can realistically be built in a few hours a week. A digital product, a simple service, a small community, these can all be started in stolen pockets of time, and that's not a limitation. That's actually a filter that's protecting you from setting yourself up to fail. So when you look at your idea, ask yourself honestly, if I had 5 hours a week to work on this, could I make real progress? If the answer is yes, it passes this filter. If the answer is no, it might not be the right idea for this season of your life. And that's okay. The third filter is energy. And this one is my personal favorite because it's the one nobody talks about. And it makes such a difference to whether you'll actually stick with something. The question here is, does this idea light you up enough that you'd keep going on the hard days? Because here's what I've learned from building multiple things and watching a lot of women do the same. Enthusiasm gets you started, but it's genuine interest that keeps you going. And the hard days come for every business, every single one. So if the only thing pulling you towards your idea is the potential money or the fact that it seems like a smart market, that's not going to be enough when you're 3 months in and you haven't made a sale yet, and you're wondering why you're even doing this. You need to actually care about the topic. You need to find it interesting enough to keep learning about it, to keep talking about it, to keep creating content about it on the days when it feels like nobody's listening. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, has spent years studying how habits and consistency actually work. Talks about how the most reliable predictor of long-term success isn't talent or strategy, it's showing up consistently. And you can only show up consistently for something that genuinely holds your interest. So look at your idea and ask, could I talk about this for a year without getting bored? Could I write emails about it, record videos about it, answer questions about it, even when it's slow? If yes, it passes this filter as well. If the honest answer is probably not, just keep looking. And the fourth filter is momentum. And this is where we get practical about whether your idea can actually build traction in a reasonable time frame. The question here is there a clear first step? Can this idea start generating results, even small ones, relatively quickly? And I want to be careful here because I'm not saying you need to make $1,000 in your first week, because that's not how most businesses work. And setting that expectation is how people end up feeling like failures when they're actually right on track. But what I'm saying is that your idea should have a clear path to a first result. Whether that's your first subscriber, your first sale, your first DM from someone saying, "This helped me," something you can point to that tells you you're moving in the right direction. This filter also asks, is there a demand for this? Not theoretical demand, but real evidence that people actually want what you're thinking about offering. And you don't need to do a huge market research project to figure this out. You just need to look around a little. Are there other people successfully selling something similar? Are there conversations happening in Facebook groups or Reddit threads where people are asking for help with this exact thing? If yes, there's demand, and that's actually good news because it means you're not trying to create a market from scratch. You're just finding your place in one that already exists. So that's the 4-filter framework: skills, time, energy, and momentum. And the way I want you to use it is pretty simple. Take the idea you're most drawn to right now and run it through all 4 filters honestly. Not optimistically, not pessimistically, just honestly. And if it passes all 4, you've probably got something worth building. And the next step is to start. Imperfectly, right now, with what you've got. If it passes 2 or 3, but fails on 1, that's useful information too. But sometimes the filter it fails on is something you can work around. Maybe the timing isn't right this year, but maybe it would be next year when your kids are older. Maybe you don't have the skill yet, but you could learn it in 3 months. The framework isn't a pass or fail test. It's a diagnostic tool, and it's designed to give you clarity, not to talk you out of things. And if it fails most of the filters, that's actually the best possible thing to find out now before you've spent 6 months and a few $100s building something that wasn't right for your life in the first place. I wish someone had handed me this framework 4 years ago, because I genuinely think it would have saved me at least 2 Shopify stores and 1 very expensive life coaching certification course. Now, if you want to go deeper on this, I've built an entire workbook around the 4-filter framework, and it's called the Second Chapter Starter Kit. It walks you through every filter in detail with prompts and exercises, and it ends with a 1-page second chapter game plan so you can finish it with an actual clear direction, not just more thinking to do. It's $27, and you can find the link in the description below this video. And if you're at the stage where you're still wrestling with too many ideas or not enough ideas, I've got another free guide for you called the Idea Filter. It's specifically designed to help you get a short list you can actually bring to this framework. That link is also in the description below. And the brand new free guide, A Quiet List, I mentioned at the start, that's also waiting for you. If you've ever felt like the noise in your head is louder than anything you've said out loud, that's the one for you. Free and linked in the description. If this video was helpful, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps more women find this content. And subscribe for a new video every Thursday. I'll see you next week, and in the meantime, stay bold, ladies. Bye for now.